202 of the finest dirt late model drivers and their equipment showed up at Eldora Speedway this weekend, and following 4.5 hours and 2 full rounds of qualifying, where 157 cars went faster in the second round, Shannon Babb of Decatur, Illinois, came out on top with an elapsed time of 17.537 seconds in his trip around the half-mile high banks. With the changes this year for the heat race lineups, Babb then drew for the inversion.
Dean Miracle, the head pit steward down here, and I think we got about another 119 drivers behind us wanting to see what's going to be going on here. So I've got these here. You will confirm that pill says?
3.
You will confirm that pill says?
6.
You will confirm that that pill, right here, if I can get it to you so you can read it, says?
5.
And of course that lead the last one to say?
4.
Okay, so we're going to take 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to throw them in here, and we're going to shake them up, and all that good stuff, and then whatever pill he draws out of here, that's how many cars will invert in the heat races for tomorrow night. So we've got it shaken up. I'm going to take the top off, and we're going to hold it up high so we can't see in. So Shannon, you go ahead and reach in there and see what we get. And we'll go ahead, and what do we have there?
4.
We're inverting top 4 in tomorrow night's heat races, so Fast 24, they're in the first 4 rows. Thank you very much, Shannon. Good luck to you tomorrow night.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Alrighty, again, your quick qualifier, Shannon Babb out of Awequa, Illinois, in car number 18, pulls the invert of number 4.
Now it's time to go racing for one of the most sought-after titles in all of dirt late model racing. On behalf of Eldora Enterprises and Motorsport Video, welcome to the 32nd Annual World 100. Hello, I'm Ozzy Altman here at Eldora Speedway, where we're witnessing this weekend one of the largest crowds to ever gather for short track racing at its finest. Last night, after time trial qualifications, the drivers not in the fastest 120 lined up 3 non-qualifiers races. Here's Rick Eshelman with the call.
Ladies and gentlemen, our first 15 lap non-qualifier event. Getting the 1 lap signal, we go the next 9 by. On the front row, these two have raced with each other all year long. They know each other well. They'll bring the field out of turn number 4. First non-qualifier event is underway. Bill Hunt takes the early lead away. Mather Jr. jumps down on the inside. Hahn will take the field down the backstretch into turn number 3. Mather on the inside. Hahn in the wall. Hard at turn number 3. Number 27 out of turn 4, caution flag is out. Well, tough break for Bill Hahn, the veteran out of Gibsonburg, Ohio, collecting in the turn 3 wall. And his night is over as the Berquist Propane Jets Barbecue and Brew number 27 will limp back to the pit area. We're ready for green. Wayne Mathis Jr., Max Stow, Bobby Walter Jr., Jack Pencil, Josh Williams, your top 5 out of 4. They come, green is out. Mathis taking the field down the backstretch. Bobby Walter Jr. tried south, couldn't get around on the outside. Jack Pencil on the move at 14. Out of 4, it's Mathis Jr., your leader. Josh Williams diving underneath Bobby Walter Jr. for the number 3 spot. Into 3, they're side by side. Mathis across the line, your leader. Stow second, 4 wide out of turn 4. a comfortable lead, bringing it out of turn 4. Max Stow running second. Josh Williams continues his battle with Bobby Walter Jr. for the number 3 spot. Holding down 5th is Jack Betzel. Jeff Clapp running 6th. Scott Nepley in trouble out of 4. Caution is out. Stow in 87, Walter, Williams, Pencil, your top 5. Single file order coming out of turn 4. They'll pass the cone. We're back to green. Williams gets by Bobby Walter, running now in the number 3 spot. On the move, Steve Shepard in 5S. Walter gets sideways. Jack Pencil tries him on the outside. Pencil up by the wall. Wayne Maffett Jr. showing the way out of turn 4. Josh Williams now running second. Halfway this time by. We're at the halfway point. Josh Williams trying to reel in Wayne Maffett Jr. Maffitt's lead starting to evaporate in turn number 3, coming out of 4. 5 to go this time by. 10 and 5 remain for Wayne Maffett Jr. Josh Williams, Max Stow, Bobby Walter Jr. and Jack Pencil. Down the front stretch, Jason Strahan showing a lot of smoke underneath the 7S car. Your leader right in behind the 7S of Strahan. He'll get around safely. Wayne Maffett Jr. bringing it out of turn number 4. Josh Williams in hot pursuit. Strahan pulls the 7S car into the pit area. He's out of the event. Maffett bringing it out of turn number 4, closing in now on slower traffic as Josh Williams continues his assault to try and get the number 1 spot. Down the backstretch into 3. Maffett closing in on the slower cars. White flag comes out this time by Josh Williams on the hunt. Maffett taking it down the backstretch, closes in on the slower car of Scott Nepley. Williams closing the gap in turn number 4. Checkered flag for Wayne Maffett Jr. Second to Josh Williams. Third to Max Stow. Fourth to Bobby Walters Jr. And fifth will go with Jeff Clapp. Caution lights are off. We go green this time by Steve Rowe, Brad Eitenmeyer, 2 drivers that wage war with each other each and every Saturday night in Northwestern Ohio. He'll set the pace once again. Coming out of turn number 4. Rowan Eitenaier bring the green out, and here we go. Eitenaier gets the jump ahead out of turn 4. He'll lead the event with Jamie Zeider down on the inside. On the move, Spencer Watson at 66 up on the high side. Watson trying him down on the outside, but here comes Zeider. Now Zeider will take over. Now Watson will dive underneath Eitenaier. He goes back to the top. Jamie Zeider, your new leader in the 99C car. Steve Rowe falls back to 4th. Watson trying Eitenaier again up out of turn number 4. Around the outside into the before you. Pickelheimer holding down the top 5 spot. Dan Walden running 6th. Chris Winters looping the X car out of turn 4 right here on the front stretch. Trying to refire. Gets her back underway. Turn number 4. Puts the 9Z car underneath the X of Watson. Tyrell Todd on the move into number 14. Starting to pick positions up now as he works on Steve Rowe. Spencer Watson in the wall on a turn 4. Jamie Zeider your leader, Spencer Watson 2nd, Brad Eitenaier 3rd, Tyrell Todd 4th, Larry Pickelheimer Jr. now running 5th, but Steve Rowe battles back on the outside. Now Dennis Robertson at 25, picking his way through the traffic. Zeider at the halfway point with a strong, comfortable lead. Tyrell Todd now battling Eitenaier. Zeider showing away in the 19. Tyrell Todd and Eitenaier battle it out for 2nd. They're side by side now. Todd will take the spot. Steve Rowe coming back in 42. Rowe to the outside of Eitenaier. Pickelheimer, Thornsberry starting to close in. Rowe goes back around Tyrell Todd. He'll take over 2nd. 5 laps to go. Jamie Zeider with a full half-track lead now over 2nd place Steve Rowe, 3rd place Tyrell Todd, 4th place Shannon Thornsberry, and 5th place Larry Pickelheimer Jr. Tyrell Todd running 3rd. Running 4th is Shannon Thornsberry. Larry Pickelheimer Jr. holding 5th. Your leader heading into turn number 4. White flag coming out this time for Jamie Zeider. Down the back chute into turn number 3. Bringing it around. He can coast from here. Winner of non-qualifier race number 2, Jamie Zeider. comes your battle for second. Across the line, it'll be Steve Rowe. Third goes to Tyro Todd. Fourth to Shannon Thornsberry. And fifth will go to Larry Pickleheimer Jr. Pulling in the win for non-qualifier race number 2, the driver out of Greenfield, Wisconsin, the 9Z of Jamie Zeider. Caution lights are off. We go green this time by Bill Saban in 98, Eddie Carrier Sr. in the number 19X. That'll be your front row that will set the pace for our final non-qualifier event, 15 laps in length. They'll bring them out of turn number 4 where we'll cut them loose. Green is out. We're underway. Ray Gus Jr. dives to the inside of Saban, trying to take the lead early. Carrier Sr. down the backstretch. He'll take the lead back away from Ray Gus. Now Gus battling back on the inside in turn 4. Side by side across the line. Ray Gus Jr. with the lead once again, but here comes Carrier Sr. back on the outside. Bill Saban takes third away from Todd Schroyer. John McNitch in a battle with Jeff Brazier and Ed Ben. Ray Gus Jr. showing the quick way around. Eddie Carrier Sr. running second. Todd Schroyer now running in that third spot. Bill Saban back to fourth. Ed Ben and John McNitch battle for fifth. Patrick Marty and Cale Clark battle for seventh. Scraping the wall in turn 3, brings it up and keeps going. Jr. now closing in on slower traffic. Works on Mike Martini in the number 45. Next in line is Joe Overmeyer in 29J. He'll go around Lance Bigminer in the number 7. Guys underneath Overmeyer. Halfway this time by Ray Gus Jr. showing the way. Car out there. Eddie Carrier Sr. running in that second spot. Todd Schroyer running third, and Ben running fourth. Running fifth is Cale Kern. Sixth is Bill Sagan. Seventh, John McNitch. Eighth, Andrew Marty. Ninth, Jeff Fraser. Ryan Gorey rounding out the top 10. Jr. down the backstretch into turn number 3. He'll see the white flag this time. I will have 1 lap to go. Eddie Carrier Sr. continuing to run in that second spot. Todd Schroyer holding down third and then running fourth. Checkered flag goes to the number 12 of Ray Gus Jr. Second to Eddie Carrier Sr. Third to Todd Schroyer. Fourth to Ed Beck. And unofficially fifth, the 77 of Cale Kern. Well, picking up the win of our third non-qualifier event this evening, the driver out of Milan, Illinois, the number 12 of Ray Gus Jr.
Awesome racing action. Of course, quite valuable and important for those guys to get seat time laps on Eldora Speedway, this storied facility. It's tough on these guys. Jamie Zeider winning his first feature ever last night, and as you can see, the drivers here are ready to get it on for tonight's 32nd Annual World 100. Heat race number 1 just about ready to roll to the green flag. 6 heat races, 15 laps each. The top 3 move on to the 32nd Annual World 100. Bedford, Indiana's Greg Johnson starts inside row 1 of the 23 machine. Wendell Wallace out of Batesville, Arkansas, in his GRT chassis car, the blue 6M, outside row 1. Chris Patterson, the Ford campaigner from the great state of Michigan, starts inside row 2. There's your fast qualifier on the outside of row 2, Shannon Babb. Mike Balzano and Rick Auckland back in row 3. A couple of drivers starting further back in the field. Donnie Moran, who has just had his way at this speedway over the years, starting back in 10th. John Mason, another veteran, starting about in 17th position. It looks like they're ready to take the green. We're underway at Eldora Speedway. Greg Johnson leads Wendell Wallace and Shannon Babb through turns 1 and 2, and Babb's immediately going to work down low on the inside of Wendell Wallace. Again, the top 3 transfer. Babb makes a move as Wallace wiggles a little bit out of turn 4. Johnson leads him in the stripe. Balzano running back in the 5th spot. Rick Auckland at red 12 running in 6th. Front 3 trying to break away, but now Chris Patterson will charge back with that yellow and red 0. He's running 4th. That's just outside of a transfer position. Again, Greg Johnson leads the field across the stripe. Shannon Babb in 2, and then back 3 following. Wendell Wallace running in 3rd. We're watching Chucky May as he gathers his machine up off the victory in heat race number 1. The Decatur, Illinois youngster in that 18 machine not only sets fast time, but he wins heat race number 1 here as the lead cars roll to the scales. Second 15-lap heat race, ready to go. 20 more cars staged in, fixing to get after it here. Brendan Kinzer out of Kentucky in the Kinzer Drilling Service machine on the pole, alongside Dan Sleeper in the Pro Power sponsored GRT. Randy Cordy and Scott Blomquist in row 2. Steve Francis and Sean Negaard in row 3. Steve Howard, George Lindsay, looking back, Billy Oakland, Knoxville 3 wide for the lead in turn 1. Now as they exit turn 2, Blomquist is going to join up with the front 2. Dan Sleeper comes out in front, Brandon Kinzer in second, Scott Blomquist in third. The battle for fourth sees Randy Cordy holding off Steve Francis. Oh, Dylan, they pulled the trigger and got extra the big way here, and now they're streaking out about the first 8 cars, filing into a single file formation. Your front 3 cars will get transfer positions again in each heat. Dan Sleeper leads, Brandon Kinzer in second, Scott Blomquist right up on him as they cross the stripe. Those guys, even though they won't transfer the heat, will make it to a B-main and still have a shot to make this World 100. Randy Cordy right up against the concrete as he runs at 4th. Blomquist starts down the inside, and he'll nose Brandon Kinzer in the stripe for second. All the while, Dan Sleeper checks out for about an 8-9 rolling advantage, and we'll watch and see if Scott Blomquist can close on it. Dan Sleeper, hard charging for all that for the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. Pro Power engines underneath the hood of his GRT chassis machine. Scott Blomquist, he's the defending champion of this World 100. He also won this year's Dream Race and paid $100,000. Look at these cars fanning back throughout the back of the field. Jerry Rice with a little bit of problem with his right one car. And these guys have to get after him in a hurry if they even have a prayer of making it to the B-main. Front 2 cars are checking out as we're watching about to get packed back out of turn 2 and down the action. Battle for third. Randy Cordy now closes up on Brandon Kinzer. This is for a transfer position. Cordy out of Highland, Illinois. Brings that yellow double O down to the inside of Kinzer. Cordy's going to roll lately. Picked up 2 big UDTRA wins, one at Hagerstown Speedway, most recent. Also had a big win at West Virginia Motor Speedway. Right now he's trying to negotiate his way around Brandon Kinzer for that final transfer spot. They've got company behind him. The 5th place car, the Mopar Park sponsor Dodge Traffic of the Kentucky Colonel, Steve Francis, trying to march his way. Cross flags for the leader. And Sleeper and Blomquist pass underneath the flag stand. Again, Brandon Kinzer in third, Randy Cordy in fourth, and Steve Francis coming to the party. Watch Francis march. The Kentucky Colonel dances to the high side out of turn 2. So the battle for the 3rd transfer position is a 3-car war now out of turn 4. Of course, Steve Francis, a former champion of the World 100, and he's going to try to zoom right into 3rd. Slips to the outside of Cordy, floats right on Kinzer, and he'll maintain that pursuit up top in turn 3 and 4. Steve Francis, his way to the front, and hit the middle rim. Yellow on the speedway, caution comes out. Caution on the speedway. Dan Sleeper is your leader. Scott Blomquist is second. We believe Francis is third. They may have to revert back to that final completed lap, and we'll wait to let the scores sort that out. First yellow flag of the night in heat race number 2. Ready to restart. Heat race number 2, of course, the top 3. Dan Sleeper, Scott Blomquist, and Brandon Kinzer. 4th through 7. Steve Francis, Randy Cordy, Sean Negaard, the blue 17, and Steve Hillard in the 47 car. And they're scrambling around them now. Kevin Claycall, Terry English in the 96. Meanwhile, Francis zooms by 2 cars out of turn 2. So moves Steve Francis up to 3rd. But a couple of guys trying to keep their hopes alive and at least get a transfer to the B-main. Among those, Vincennes, Indiana driver Kevin Claycall in a white red 28. And your current UMP national points leader, Terry English, had a bit in Kentucky in that red 96. So that's a wild scramble. We see 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th all together on a turn 4. Again, you got to finish 7th or better to stay alive. Scott Lucas is trying to close in on your leader down the back straightaway as we continue to watch this scramble for position back in the 6th, 7th position. Randy Cordy trying to put a little pressure on Steve Francis for 3rd. Kinser in 5th, and now Hiller with a good move. That holds him in the 7th spot as English apparently having problems now. White flag for Sleeper. Luke was just chopping the lead down to 3 or 4 car lengths. They're looking at turn number 2. Steve Francis runs in 3rd. Randy Cordy in 4th. Brandon Kinser still alive in 5th. Sean Megadon at blue 16 and 6th. The battle's going to be for the final spot to transfer to a B main. Here's the lead. Dan Sleeper wins 2nd. Luke was comes over in 2nd. Steve Francis in 3rd. 4th is Randy Cordy. Brandon Kinser in 5th. Sean Megadon in 6th. And Steve Hiller picks up that final 7th finishing position, and that should move to the B main. So another fast and furious 15-lap heat race here. And Milwaukee, Wisconsin's Dan Sleeper puts the Pro Power sponsored machine to the victory in heat race number 2 as the leaders head to the scales. The 3rd heat race of the evening just about set to see a green flag, the front row. Scott James in the 83 car and Randall Chuck in the 114 Park, Ohio, Biscotti's restaurant winery sponsored ride. Row 2, Darrell Lanigan out of Union, Kentucky in that black 29 to his outside. One of the hottest drivers of the year. Out of Iowa, Brian Burkhofer in the 15. Row 3, a couple of hot rods, including Rod Conley and Terry Phillips out of Missouri. Joey Izzo and Earl Pearson back the row. Then you got Chad Lauer and Mike Duvall. Steve Shaver and Dwayne Hommel starting on that 6th row. They're going green. I think we're in for a dandy here as Chuck will try to chase by Scott James on the outside of turn 2. Burkhofer working up top to the outside of Lanigan, scoops into 3rd. One car into the wall at the back of the field was Keith Kelly Bowen, but we stay green, and now Scott James charges back. And he'll lead Randall Chuck across the front. Nifty battle for 2nd. Darrell Lanigan and Burkhofer getting after it. Back in 5th, we see Rod Conley in that white red 71 car. Earl Pearson Jr. and the Lucas Oil one. Here he comes down to the inside of Conley. He'll bring Terry Phillips. Chad Lyle in that yellow red 12. Joey Izzo, oh, trouble. Pearson spins in turn 2. Joey Izzo gets by, narrowly escaped any collision there, and it looks like everybody made it out of that incident except for Earl Pearson Jr., who went spinning down through turns 1 and 2, the yellow flag out here in this 3rd heat. Two laps completed in this 3rd heat race. It'll be a single file restart. You see the 114 of Randall Chuck. He'll lead Scott James, Brian Burkhofer, Darrell Lanigan, Rod Conley, Terry Phillips, and the rest of the field. Look at Scott James working way low. Chuck takes the high line, and he'll lead him down the back chute. Wow, scramble for 5th. Terry Phillips has a spot, a 3-car battle for 6th, and now a little contact. Everybody comes out clean. Looks like Chuck leads it across the stripe. Here's Terry Phillips. Chad Lyle. Joey Izzo. Rod Conley and Dwayne Hommel trying to nose his way up into the top 7. Hommel works to the inside of Rod Conley down the back straightaway. Meanwhile, Randall Chuck still leads. He's got about a 5-car length advantage up front over Scotty James. James with a 3-car length advantage over Burkhofer, who runs in 3rd. Then it's back to Darrell Lanigan in 4th, Terry Phillips in 6th, 5th actually. Joey Izzo in 6th, Chad Lyle in 7th. And we've got, once again, some guys that are going to have to hustle to work their way to that top 7. Rod Conley racing down into turn 1. Dustin Neat got by there. We also see the Kelly Bowen car working by. These cars that we just saw come out of turn 4, they've got a lot of ground to make up. Again, we know these heat races are about transfer positions to the feature, but only the top 3 go. this third heat race. Bowen up against the concrete between 3 and 4. Ready for a single file restart. Randall Chubb still shows the way. Scott James behind him, and Brian Burkhoff in third. The scramble's going to be, and cars running back at 8 and 9. Can they catch up to the rest of the field? Watch him zoom through turns 1 and 2. Burkhoff down low. Works underneath Scotty James down the back right away. All the while, Darrell Lanigan trying to come to the front. Randall Chubb trying to use this opportunity to break away from the balance of the field. He's got a 4-car length advantage. Cross flag. They hit this right. Scott James in second. Burkhoff in third. Lanigan in fourth. Side by side for fifth. Joey Izzo down low underneath Terry Phillips. Dwayne Hummel challenging Chad Lau. That would be for the 7th spot, which would get a driver into the B-main. Back up front, Chubb has 3 car lengths of advantage over James in turn 2. Burkhoff running dead their track. Lanigan in 4th, Terry Phillips 5th, followed by Joey Izzo and Chad Lau. Battle shaping up for the 5th position now. Joey Izzo still trying to put a little pressure on Terry Phillips. Directly behind them would be that final transfer spot to a B-main starting position. Chad Lau in the yellow and red 12 has it. Dwayne Hummel out of Newport, Tennessee. Dick Rowe is trying to pick up that position out of 4. Back in the pack as a couple of guys dust the knee, almost getting together with Brandon Green. All the while, Randall Chubb across the stripe. Challenge for second. Burkhoff thought about putting a slide job on Scott James. He'll fall back in line down the back straightaway. Here's a battle as Joey Izzo pulls underneath Terry Phillips. Phillips off the base. Terry Phillips of Springfield, Missouri has a problem. That white red 75 slowly rolling out of 4. And cars soon by his inside. Not a good sign for Terry Phillips. It looks like his day in the World 100 will come to an abbreviated end. All the while up front, white flag wave. Shocks the leader. James in second. And the yellow flag comes out. The yellow flag is waved. All the while, Chubb, James, and Burkhoff continue to streak down the backstretch. The yellow was waved when Terry Phillips did not make the turn into the pit entrance. So we'll have a complete restart. Should see a green-white checker finish for this third heat race. Single file restart with 2 to go. Randall Chubb hits the go switch, and he'll lead Scott James, Burkhoff, and Lanigan across the line. 2-lap battle. Now Burkhoff digs to the low side. He's got to protect that high groove as Lanigan's gaining ground on him. They're going to race to the white flag out of turn 4. Chubb leads the way. Scott James in second. Burkhoff in third. Look at a 4-car scramble. Going on a wild scramble way behind these guys as cars zigging and zagging all over the racetrack. Through turns 3 and 4, final time. Randall Chubb trying to hold off Scott James. At the stripe given to Randall Chubb. Scott James in second. Burkhoff in third. Darrell Lanigan in fourth. Joey Izzo in fifth. Chad Lau in sixth. And it looked like the 25 of Destiny pulled off a pass to get to the 7th. So a lot of things shaking up in those last 2 laps, but one thing for certain, Randall Chubb in a dominating run to win the third heat race here in this 32nd World 100. Fourth heat race of the evening. Ready to roar to life here on the front row. Brian Ruhlman in the black and white 11. He's got a lot of experience here at Eldora Speedway. We'll watch him work as he'll start to the inside of the modern-day cowboy. Mitchell, Indiana's John Gill in the black 75. Good qualifying effort for him. California's Ivan and Lloyd, the 21, inside row 2, alongside of Shane Yoder, the 8. Jason Faber in that 25, alongside the hitman, Tim Hitt. Davey Johnson starts back in 12. Freddie Smith starts in 14. And they're roaring to life in a big way. Wild scramble through 1 and 2. Ray Cook on the move up the middle of the field. Up front, the modern-day cowboy, John Gill shows the way. Ruhlman in second. Ivan and Lloyd holds the 3rd spot. And here comes Ray Cook and Timmy Hitt. They're side by side for 4th. Giving a hit as they enter turn 1. around for anybody. He has already opened up a 12-car length advantage over Roman, who runs in second. Ivan and Lloyd still holds the third spot. Kim Hitt in fourth. Ray Cook in fifth. Shane Yoder is back in the sixth position. He's getting a challenge now from Darren the Thriller Miller in that black and green numeral 32. Starting to put a little pressure on Ivan and Lloyd for the third position. As we watch Darren Miller and Shane Yoder get after it out of turn number 2. Jason Fager's having a nifty little run in that green numeral 25 up in turn 3. All the while, John Gill has just checked out of the field. He's got almost a full straightaway advantage over Roman. It's another 8 cars back to Ivan and Lloyd, who's in third. He's got a 3-car length advantage over Kimmy Hitt in turn 3. Here's the battle for the final transfer position. Working out of turn 2, Ivan and Lloyd. Very successful driver in late model sportsman and late model division in the state of Florida. He's trying to hold off the hitman, Tim Hitt, as they work out of turn 4. Lloyd will have the spot again. Riding in their trail about 4 or 5 car lengths back. Cook in the 5th spot. Gill across the stripe. Roman holds the 2nd spot. Hit to the inside of Lloyd. They're side by side for 3rd. And Lloyd really stepped up to the high side that time. They got a good run off of turn 2. Hit might have grazed the wall that time. Cross flag shown for the race leader, John Gill, Roman, and then back to Lloyd Hitt. Nifty battle for the final transfer position, and there's Hitt again, nosing to the inside of Lloyd. Timmy Hitt really mashed the pedal on that. Exit of turn 4, Lloyd charges back a dead heat in the strike. Hitt works that low groove. Ivan and Lloyd continues to ride that rim. Your leader, John Gill, already working in traffic. Gill with a straightaway advantage over second place car, Brian Roman, and again, here's that battle for 3rd. Lloyd will hold Hitt off in the strike. Craig Scott and Earl Smith will lap down. That battle for 3rd rages on. Timmy Hitt took it deep into turn 1 this time. A slide job. Lloyd has to check up. So get the 3rd spot to Tim Hitt. Tim Hitt now in 3rd. Dropping Lloyd back to 4th. Ray Cook running in 5th. Looking further back in the field, Darren Miller has a 6th spot. Shane Yoder in 7th. Again, those positions would at least move those guys to the B-main. John Gill back across the stripe. Roman racing in left traffic. Your second place car, the black and white 11 of Brian Roman. And we see a couple of lap cars. Ivan and Lloyd has a problem. The young driver out of Florida in such a nifty run has now slowed, and apparently his World 100 evening is over. Gill sees a white flag, pulls it back into turn 1. A lot of people rooting for this man, John Gill, to pull up a big win here at Eldora this weekend. He could be on his way. Streaks down the back straightaway. Slides underneath the left car, Jerry Bauer sock. John Gill wins heat number 4. Brian Roman across the stride from 2nd. Timmy Hitt in 3rd. Your 4th place finish over your Ray Cook. Darren Miller now closes in on the strike. He'll finish at 5th. In 6th, Shane Yoder. At 7th, I believe will go to Jason Fager. We'll have to check the scores on that. Not sure if Bobby Lanner was in that spot or if it was Fager's. But nevertheless, the modern-day cowboy rides the range to victory in the 4th heat race. Mitchell, Indiana's John Gill, your winner. He moves on to the 32nd Annual World 100. Heat race number 5, set to go. And this is a very important heat race. The drivers call this the race for the preferred spot. The winner of the fifth heat starts on the outside of the front row of the feature. Jeep Van Warmer is on the pole. Illinois driver Dennis Irvin at 28 alongside. Wes Stedinger and Skip Hart, who's coming off a big win last weekend. Over there, R.J. Conley. Jimmy Mars running way back in 12th. Former World 100 winner Randy Boggs starts in 16th, and it's on already. Irv streaks by Van Warmer on the backstretch. The battle is now for the third spot. Wes Stedinger now having a big-time problems over in turn 3. Jesse Lane and the Iceman Jimmy Mars all coming to grief in turn 3. Ready for the restart here in the fifth heat race. We've talked about Van Warmer and Erb up front, Steininger and Arp in row 2. Billy Moyer, the only 5-time winner of the World 100, starting at 8. Billy Drake, Kevin Wheeler, C.J. Ray with the KT Motor right there. Look at him getting after it in turn 2. Skip Mark goes to the outside of Van Warmer and Moyer marching to the high side. Billy Moyer up to 5th. Back at the stripe, it's Dennis Irv, Skip Mark, and R.J. Conley in that red 71. Jeep Van Warmer trying to take back the 4th position from Wes Stedinger. And he's got some heavy lead behind him. Van Warmer raises that rooster tail and does right up against the wall. Kevin Weaver, Billy Moyer, they're getting after it. Right there with Looper Bear. Those cars running in 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. We'll just stay focused on that pack of cars running at about 5th through 9th there. Look at him, 3 wide. Moyer changes lane. Here goes the top side. Beat it right in there. Steininger, Van Warmer changes a little sheet metal. Looper Bear thinks about going underneath Moyer. There's a little more contact. It's getting wild and woolly in this fifth heat. Side by side, Kevin Weaver trying to take over the 4th spot. That's Weaver, the white bird B12 car. Jim in 4th position as he scoots underneath Steininger. Now Moyer works to the inside of Jeep Van Warmer. Move Billy Moyer up to 6th, and he's trying to gain some more. All the while, Dennis Irv Jr. out of Carpentersville, Illinois, has his blue and white 28 machine at the point. Skip Warp in 2nd. R.J. Conley runs 3rd. Kevin Weaver in 4th, and Billy Moyer uses a high line to put in the 5th. Real racy out there. Aaron Scott with a slide job underneath Jeep Van Warmer. Track beginning to slick over from top to bottom. Battle for 3rd is what we're watching. Kevin Weaver trying to pull into what will be a transfer position as he works on R.J. Conley back into turn number 1. Skip Hart has broken away from this battle for 3rd. Arp in 2nd as they see the cross flag. R.J. Conley still holding on Kevin Weaver. And all the while, Billy Moyer marches on trying to close out on him. Kevin Weaver now tries to regroup. May try another run down low. He does. Can't quite put alongside of R.J. Conley. Unrelenting in his challenge. Still slides up behind R.J. Conley. They're running 3rd and 4th with Billy Moyer in that yellow and red shirt 21 back in 5th. Continue to look at that 3rd, 4th, and 5th place battle. Cooper Bear has had the 6th spot. The challenge is for 7th with Aaron Scott trying to close up on Wes Steininger. Leader back to the stripe. Irv continuing to dominate this heat. There's that battle for 7th. That would at least gain a spot in the B-Main. Couple of drivers see things not go their way. Among those, Jeep Van Warmer, who started on the pole, he's faded. Jimmy Mars with problems. He started 12th, hasn't been able to gain any ground, and here's the battle for 3rd in turn 2. Gibson City Can Kevin Weaver get another run on R.J. Conley? He's working up top out of turn 2. Closes right up on his rear deck lid in 3. Scoots underneath the slide job. Weaver takes his spot, but Conley will charge back. It'll be Weaver by a nose. That was for third. Your heat race winner was Dennis Erb Jr. Skip Park. Skip Park came on in second to 31 cars, sponsored by Charter Communications. And what an empty move by Kevin Weaver, pulling off that slide job and holding off the resurgent charge of R.J. Conley. Kevin Weaver will apparently pick up the third final transfer position. There's your race winner, Carpentersville, Illinois driver Dennis Erb Jr., your winner in heat race number 5. For the 6th and final heat race. And this 15-lapper will determine who will start on the pole for the 32nd Annual World 100. Dale McDowell of the 17M starts from the front row inside. Bob Pullman out of Illinois in the blue 27. Don O'Neill and Bob Pierce in row 2. Bart Hartman and Matt Miller in row 3. Steve Barnett and Rick Deckard in row 4. Gary Stewart, Sean Tozak, Ryan Garber, a host of other talented drivers in the field, and they're in the gas. Down 4 wide in turn 2. Barnett on the bottom, Hartman up in part of that. What a wild scramble already. O'Neill trying to close in on McDowell. Way down low in the tall pool with Bob Pierce. Pierce digs the bottom of the racetrack. Way down low as he pulls underneath fellow Oaklawn, Illinois driver Bob Pullman. O'Neill really putting the pressure on McDowell in turn 3. Here comes Pierce. They're 3 wide out of turn 4. McDowell, Pierce, and O'Neill. Don O'Neill shot out of a cannon. Here comes McDowell back down low to reclaim the lead. They went down the back straightaway. Wild racing action. Look at the rooster tail of dust as O'Neill runs way down the bottom apron. Draws him outside McDowell. Denies him at the strike. Speedway. Dale McDowell, the real deal Don O'Neill, the tall pool with Bob Pierce. A 3-car battle for the lead. They're back out of turn number 4. Continuing that 3-abreast racing out of turn 2. McDowell holds the lead. Now Pierce sneaks underneath O'Neill in turn 3. Here's the battle. The tall going. Bob Pierce comes to the front. Pierce leads his left as they close beneath the flag stand. McDowell trying to use that momentum off of turn 2. Pierce is strong down low. Trouble 1 car into the wall over in turn number 2. It's the 90 car Gary Stewart, I do believe. Caution flag wave. Caution displayed for the blue and white number 90 of Gary Stewart. Pennsylvania driver made contact with the wall at turn 2. Yellows out. Race fans, I'm going to tell you something right now. This place will go crazy if Bob Pierce pulls off this heat race and starts on the pole for this 32nd Annual World 100. Ready for a single file restart. The black and red 32 of Illinois. Bob Pierce shows the way. Dale McDowell in second. Don O'Neill in third. Matt Miller in the black and white 7. Bob Pullman in the blue and yellow 27. Steve Barnett in the white and orange 20. Bart Hartman in the yellow 75. Here comes Rick Deckard. You gotta get after the hurry in these heat races. Bob Pierce shows the way out of turn 4. Pressure McDowell for second. Real tight battle for the 4th position between Matt Miller and Steve Barnett. They're followed by Hartman, Pullman, and Eckert. Pierce sees the cross flag. He's got a 7-car advantage. McDowell in second, O'Neill in third. Daniels and Brewster Taylor Durst. Out of turn 4, Pierce across the stripe. Nifty battle for second. O'Neal this time. And she just nosed out McDowell for that second position. McDowell back to third. Here comes Matt Miller in the 7 car. He's running in fourth. And Matt Miller's had some good runs here in recent years. Steve Barnett in fifth. Bob Pierce has about an 8 or 9 car length advantage. And we're not trying to jinx him, but that motor sounds a little bit different that time down the front straightaway. So we're keeping the ear and an eye peeled on Pierce's machine as he continues to run strong. O'Neal in second, McDowell in third, Matt Miller in fourth, Steve Barnett in fifth, Mark Hartman in sixth, side by side for seventh between Eckert and Coleman. Scott Sexton closing on those guys. The Pigeon Forge Tennessee driver flashes to the outside of Coleman to that black and white number 1. Nothing changes up front. There's Scott Sexton. And Sexton, a talented driver of those high wire acts running the outside rim. Oh, right up against the concrete down the back straightaway for Sexton. Pierce back across the stripe. O'Neal was opened up for goodly distance. For second over McDowell. McDowell is in jeopardy of losing his transfer position. Matt Miller, Steve Barnett, Mark Hartman are all gaining up on Dale McDowell midway down the back straightaway. White flag for Bob Pierce. O'Neal seems safe at second. Here's the challenge for third. Matt Miller out of Middleburg, Ohio, works inside of Dale McDowell. He got a little loose that allows Barnett to close. Hartman still in the mix. They're midway down the back straightaway. Keep you on that battle for third. All the while, Bob Pierce is your winner of eBay 6. O'Neal comes home in second. In third. Whoa, baby, too close to call. I do believe that Dale McDowell did nose out Matt Miller, but we'll have to await word from the tower to make it official. Well, the stage is set for pandemonium here at Eldora Speedway, race fans, because so many people that have come here for so many years are going to get to see veteran Bob Pierce, the tall cool one. After winning this 6-heat race, he will start from the pole in the 32nd Annual World 100. Don O'Neal comes home in second. And Dale McDowell picks up the third position. Ready to go for the B-Main, the last chance qualifier. 23 cars ready to take the green flag. The first 20 spots have been determined. Of course, 6 heat races yielded 3 transfer positions, and then starting 19th and 20th respectively in the feature are Shane Yoder and Chris Patterson. They earned their spots as the fastest 2 qualifiers that didn't earn a transfer spot out of the heats. Here we are, the B-Main, ready to go. Mike Balzano and Brandon Kinzer on the front row. Darrell Lanigan and Ray Cook in row 2. R.J. Conley alongside of Matt Miller in row 3. And the rest of the field, Dwayne Chamberlain, Shane Degengar, Joey Izzo, Darren Miller. They're all tonight down in turn 1. Oh, but the top 4 will go, and Ray Cook pulls inside of Balzano in a challenge for second. Brandon Kinzer's up front. They're racing 3 wide in turn 3, beating the Vegas. Darren Miller into the wall. Oh, and Rick Eckert can't away. Some big problems in turn 3 on the first lap. Darren Miller in that black and green number 32 was involved in a 3-car battle. 3 wide into turn 3. He got pushed up into the wall. He got there and came down off the top groove, and Rick Eckert left with no route of escape. Looks like their World 100 evenings are ended. Rick Eckert, a former winner of the $100,000 to win Dream Race here at Eldora Speedway and the current UDTRA points leader, on the hook. He's done for the night. It's going to be a complete restart here with Mike Balzano and Brandon Kinzer up front. Five-time World 100 winner Billy Moyer. He started this B-Main back on the inside of row 6, just behind Joey Izzo. We're going green. Balzano and Kinzer thundered out of the turn number 1. Ray Cook, Darrell Lanigan, and R.J. Conley, all there with them. Contact in turn 2. They're going 3 wide. For the lead, out of turn 4, Brandon Kinzer shows the way. Mike Balzano runs in second. Darrell Lanigan in third. Matt Miller in fourth. R.J. Conley there in that red 71 holding in the 5th spot. Ray Cook in 6th. Then you got Joey Izzo, Dwayne Chamberlain, and another competitor way down low. Billy Moyer trying to root and gouge his way to the front. You gotta get it done in a hurry. That's Chuck Frank down low inside of Chamberlain. That's the battle for 8. Now Negengard gets into Chamberlain down the back straightaway. These guys have got to free themselves of that traffic and get up front. If you're not in the top 4, you're done. Beating and banging, and those cars get swirling. 3 wide out of 4. Moyer trying to desperately get to the front. Billy Moyer up underneath Chamberlain. Boom Moyer up tonight. He's got a whole lot of ground to gain, though, if he's going to get to this World 100. Your leader, Brandon Kinzer. Frank Mazzano in 2nd. Matt Miller 3rd. Darrell Lanigan in 4th. Back in 5th is R.J. Conley. He's being challenged with a Ray Cook for that spot. In 7th is Joey Izzo. Chuck Frank in 8th. And Moyer trying to close from 9th. Mr. Smooth on the top side. Scoots around Chuck Frank. Billy Moyer now up to 8th. Look at these cars scattering and fanning out across the racetrack. Great racing circus again tonight at Eldora Speedway. Brandon Kinzer now beginning to feel a little heat. Trouble from Matt Miller. A lot of smoke coming from beneath the 7 of Miller. Looks like his evening's coming to an abrupt halt. R.J. Conley takes the 4th spot. Ray Cook cautiously by and he'll get passed by Joey Izzo. And all the while, Billy Moyer gallops. Leader Brandon Kinzer. Mazzano in 2nd. Bruce Lanning is now up to 3rd. R.J. Conley in 4th. 5th through 8th, Joey Izzo. Ray Cook and Billy Moyer. Moyer challenges for 7th. Underneath Ray Cook down the back straight. This is the only 5-time World 100 champion. And he's not yet up into a starting position. Oh, a little shove from Cook. Ray Cook pushing Billy Moyer down the front stretch. Moyer has now freed himself there. Mazzano wants to finish your 2nd place car, Mike Mazzano. Done for the night. He'll take the hard left-hand turn to the pit. Let's reset your top runners. Brandon Kinzer, your leader. Darrell Lanigan now up to 2nd. R.J. Conley to 3rd. Joey Izzo to 4th. And Billy Moyer comes to 5th. Cross flags for Brandon Kinzer. The Kinzer Drilling sponsored ride having a stellar run in this female. Lanigan settling down, running in that 2nd spot. R.J. Conley, a good run in 3rd. Joey Izzo is in 4th. That would be your final transfer spot. I've got a feeling he is going to have company in a minute. Batesville, Arkansas's Billy Moyer. The senior diplomat here at the hallowed grounds of Eldora Speedway. Oh, Chuck Frank just hanging that star 1 car out. Trying desperately with everything he's got. The Sugar Grove, Pennsylvania driver, working back in 7th. Nothing changing in the front 4. Time's running out if you're not in that top 4. Looking back at Ray Cook, Chuck Frank, Mark Hartman, Chad Lyle, and others, their night is rapidly coming to a close if they can't gain some ground. The bubble position is held by Chicago's Joey Izzo. Look at these cars scattered. Here's your leader, Brandon Kinzer, across the stripe as we pan back through the field. A whole lot of talented drivers are not going to be able to make a start in this 32nd annual World 100. And once Billy Moyer got up to 5th, he's not gained any more ground on Joey Izzo. So if things don't change in a hurry, Moyer's going to find himself on the outside looking in. We look back through 1 and 2. That's your race leader, Brandon Kinzer in the 18th. Darrell Lanigan in the black 29 beginning to close on it. R.J. Conley in that red 71 car in 3rd. 5 laps remaining. Kinzer has company as Union Kentucky Darrell Lanigan closes up, and Brandon Kinzer has dinged that spoiler up as he's grazed the outside retaining wall, and he's had a handful. He can't steer that race car like he could before, and it shows. Lanigan goes for the lead in turn 3. Big time pressure slide job. Get the lead. Kinzer holds it off by a nose. I was ready to say Lanigan was your leader, but Kinzer scoots back up in front of him. Now a little bumping and riding. 3 wide for the lead down the back turn one. 3 cars scramble for the win in this B-Main. Here they come. R.J. Conley on the mark. White flag with 1 left to go. It's Conley, Lanigan, and Kinzer. Is 0-4. Last time down the back chute, this B-Main. Ready to fill the final 4 starting positions. Out of turn number 4, R.J. Conley's your winner. Still Lanigan in second. Brandon Kinzer in third. And Joey Izzo picks up the 4th spot. Unbelievable. Fantastic racing. Of course, the king of dirt track preparation, Earl Boston, brought that water truck down between the heat races in this B-Main. Reworked the track, and it shows. Great racing surface here. R.J. Conley has earned his way into the 32nd annual World 100 with a stellar run in that B-Main. He takes the victory over Union, Kentucky's Darrell Lanigan, who comes home in second. Brandon Kinzer started from the pole. He dinged up that spoiler, but he was able to steer it home in third. And Chicago, Illinois, Joey Izzo apparently will pick up the 4th and final transfer spot. Imagine, 5-time World 100 winner Billy Moyer won't be in this year's World 100 unless something crazy happens in the scales. Well, the bell has tolled as we begin this weekend with 202 of the fastest daredevils on dirt. After 6 heat races, a B-Main, now we have our 24-car starting grid. The crowd in a frenzy here at Eldora Speedway as we prepare to kick off this 32nd annual World 100. Only 2 former champions of this event are in the field. 3-time World 100 winner Scott Woodbush and 1999 World 100 champion Steve Francis. 5 first-time starters in this year's World 100, including front row starter Dennis Erb, Scott James, Brian Ruhlman, Joey Izzo, and Brandon Kinzer. As we look over at the cars in turn 2 in a 4-wide formation as a salute to the fans, let's take a look at how they'll start this event on the pole. One of the crowd favorites here from the great state of Illinois, Bob Pierce, in that black and red trim number 32. He's come so close and many times in the past to winning this big event. Tonight could be his night. We'll see. Dennis Erb out of Cokersville, Illinois, starts outside of row number 1 in the blue and white trim number 28 machine. Another man who's come awfully close to pass, another fan favorite, the black number 75 out of Mitchell, Indiana. They call him the modern-day cowboy, John Gill. Straps in for the inside of row 2 alongside Troutman, North Carolina driver Randall Chuck in the white 114. Piscotty Western Rider is sponsored by Randall Chuck. Row 3, Dangerous Dan Sleeper in the S9 Pro Power Racing Engine sponsored machine. And to his outside, the Decatur Raider, Shannon Babb in the yellow and red shirt number 18, bound to pass qualifier for this 32nd annual World 100. Rick Johnson out of Bedford, Indiana, starts inside row 4. He is in the blue and white 23 Miracle Motorsport sponsored ride. Greg Johnson and Scott Lundquist on the outside of that 4th row in the 0 car. Miller Brothers Cole Hawkeye Trucking, sponsoring Motorsport, 3-time champion of this event. Row 5, Scott James in the 83, Brian Ruhlman in the 11. Back in row 6, Skip Hart, strapped into the white number 31 Charter Communications ride. He's coming off the big weekend last week. He won $20,000 over the Labor Day, and he'll start alongside the 71 of Martinsville, Indiana's Don O'Neill, the real deal in the Petrol Towing O'Neill Lumber Products project number 71. Back in the 7th row, the Batesville Bullet, Wendell Wallace in that black and blue 6M car. Wallace campaigning that GRT chassis machine. He could be another strong candidate for tonight's win. And alongside the 1999 World 100 champion out of Ashland, Kentucky, the Kentucky Colonel, and the Mopar Parts Dodge Intrepid, sponsored by Valvoline, Steve Francis. Back in row 8, Muscatine, Iowa's Brian Burkhofer in the 15, and the Hitman Tim Hitt in the 68 out of Weston, West Virginia. The Flatlands Flash, Kevin Weaver, and the white and red B12 machine starts inside row 9, alongside of Dale McDowell, the Chickamauga Charger, and the 17M Larry Shaw prepared rocket chassis machine. Back in row 10, the Flying Hawaiian, number 8, Shane Yoder, out of the great state of Ohio. and Michigan driver Chris Patterson strapped in his Ford on the outside of that 10th row in the 0 car. R.J. Conley out of Wheelersburg, West Virginia, starting alongside of Union, Kentucky's Darrell Lanigan in row 11. And in row 12, Allen, Kentucky's Brandon Kinzer alongside of Chicago youngster Joey Izzo. 24 members of the Fraternal Order of Go Fast preparing to giddy up and gallop around the Howland half mile here at Eldora Speedway. All the shucking and jiving is over. We're just about ready to see the green flag. Pierce, and bring him to the stripe. Side by side out of turn 2, Pierce down low and over up top. Shannon there, wheeled in there in the third position. John Gill running there at 4. Here comes Bob Pierce and Dennis Erb. Dennis Erb will lead lap 1. Pierce charges back with a challenge on the inside. Erb settling up in that higher groove. Scott James has fallen from the race. And James slows and stops on the front straightaway. That brings out the yellow flag. A flat tire for Scott James, left rear down on the car. He slowed and then stopped on the front straightaway. The yellow flag waves. Scott James now heads down pit road for new rubber on the rear of his 83 machine. 1 lap complete. Following a brief caution for the flat tire for Scott James. It's Dennis Erb leading Bob Pearson, Shannon Brown to the green flag. We're back underway. Working lap number 2. Dan Sleeper down to the inside of John Gill. Moving up the 4th. Here comes Bloomquist on the inside of Gill. Up front, Pearson's tightened it up on Dennis Erb. Bob Pierce is coming to the front. The tall Cohen battling for the lead. He'll dip over the stripe by about a foot. They're side by side in 42. Trying to rumble to his first ever World 100 caution of his speedway. 4 or 5 cars piled up into turn 2. So we are under yellow. Chris Patterson involved. R.J. Conley involved. Scott James' car is sitting over there, but I believe he got his car almost wound up. Well, now I see some damage on his car. He came into it late. Shane Yoder, I believe, is the car backed up against the wall there. Brandon Kinzer also involved there as well. Tim hit with some damage on his car. The rear of his car mangled up pretty badly. So Timmy Hitt caught a piece of that as well. So a half a dozen cars involved in a lap 3 crash over in turn 2. So we're back under the yellow here at Eldora Speedway at the World 100. Ready to return to racing action here at the 32nd annual World 100. 2 laps officially completed, 2 yellow flags. We're down to 22 cars as Shane Yoder and Chris Patterson, who were involved in that crash as they attempted to get lap 3 underway there. The 2 cars that have fallen from the event. Here comes Bob Pierce leading Dennis Erb, Shannon Babb, Dan Sleeper, Scott Bloomquist in the balance of the field. They're back green and they scatter 4 wide turn 1. Babb sticks his nose under Erb. There's Bloomquist on the high side, taking the 4th spot away from Sleeper. Car scattering 3 wide back throughout the field. Here comes Shannon Babb. Bob Pierce will lead lap 3. Trouble in turn 4. 1 car spinning in turn number 4, trying to get the car in the right direction. And no, the yellow will go out again as Darrell Lanigan out of Union, Kentucky brings out the caution. 3 laps complete. 3 yellow flags. We'll try it again. As the tall cool with Bob Pierce will lead Shannon Babb, Dennis Erb, Scott Bloomquist, and Dan Sleeper. Green in the air, and we're back underway. And they waste no time getting after it as they scatter back down to the turns 1 and 2 down the back straightaway. Here's your leader. Bloomquist is up to 3rd as he'll tailgate Shannon Babb out of turn 4. Way on the bottom, Joey Izzo working back in the back, trying to link his way to the front. Here's your leader, Bob Pierce, down the backstretch. In 2nd is Shannon Babb. Back in 3rd, Scott Bloomquist. The battle for 4th is on. Dennis Erb on the high side. Greg Johnson down low. Get the spot to Johnson at the stripe. Sleeper. Crawford and Gill. Running back direct advantage over the second place car, Bob Pierce. Pierce closes that gap a little bit now, and Wilkins is running about 3 car lengths behind Bob Pierce. Greg Johnson still holds that 4th spot, but he's got company now as Brian Burkhalter closes for 5th. Sleeper way up in that high groove, running back in 6th. Irv in 7th. Gill in 8th. Francis in 9th. Battle for 10th side by side between Skip Harp and Don O'Neill. This field is getting strung out all around Eldora Speedway. That battle for the 4th spot, really the best race on the racetrack right now. Shannon Babb checks out. Now the battle for 2nd is tightened up. Scott Brooks was giving Bob Pierce 5th underneath the flag stand. Nose to tail. Woodward looks slow. Pierce drifts high. They stay side by side in turn 2. Pierce will have an edge down the back chute. Your leader, Shannon Babb, is closing up on the end of the field. So he will have to continue in traffic momentarily. There again, Bob Pierce in 2nd, Scott Woodward in 3rd. Now flashing in your view, Greg Johnson watches Brian Burkhalter dive to the inside. That's the battle for 4th. Battle for 2nd again. Here is that battle for 4th, Burkhalter and Johnson. Greg Johnson, talented driver from Bedford, Indiana, and Burkhalter is scouting for that position right now. Burkhalter at 4th, Greg Johnson back to 5th. Here's your race leader, Shannon Babb, now who have to show his arts in negotiating lap traffic. He closes up on Gibson City, Illinois' Kevin Weaver. Weaver fighting furiously to stay on the lead lap. Babb will leave you no choice. A little contact. Babb had to check up in. As Weaver tried desperately to stay on that lead lap. Again, Babb makes the move to the inside over in turn 2. Again, Weaver charges, but Weaver shows a little sportsmanship there. And Babb puts it a lap down. Right behind, here comes Pearson Woodward in 2nd and 3rd. Burkhalter at 4th. Now Babb begins to close in on R.J. Conley. Babb has the luxury right now of having the lap car of Kevin Weaver between he and the 2nd and 3rd place car of Pearson Woodward. Woodward right that high line now. Goes to the outside of Pierce, and Woodward will take over 2nd that time by. Pierce right there with him. Again, your leader, Shannon Babb in traffic. He goes to the inside of R.J. Conley. Trying to put Conley lap down, and Conley fighting to stay on the lead lap. Babb makes it work in turn 1. Shoots by with a little slide job now up down the back straightaway. So again, Shannon Babb keeping a lap car between he and the 2nd place car, but not for long, because here comes Motorsport Tennessee Scott Woodward to the 2nd. All the while, Brian Burkhalter is closing up on Bob Pierce for that 3rd position. As Pierce is followed up behind the lap cars of R.J. Conley and Kevin Weaver, Burkhalter closes right in on it. Shannon Babb, the race leader, has now put Dale McDowell a lap down. Bob Pierce trying to free himself from the situation he's in, trying to get around the lap car of Kevin Weaver, and all the while Burkhalter's turning off the whip. Your leader's out of 4th. Shannon Babb with a 4th car length advantage over Scott Woodward. And Woodward chops that down over in turn 2. Little contact between the lap car Kevin Weaver and Bob Pierce, and now Brian Burkhalter is right there nipping at his heels in turn 3. That is the battle for 3rd. Burkhalter makes the pass as they hit into the turn 1. Here working on lap 28. Dandy race for the 3rd spot. Pierce charges back with Burkhalter. Strong down low. So Burkhalter is in 3rd. Pierce is in 4th. Move Frank Johnson up to 5th as he slipped by Dan Sleeper. Sleeper will try to charge back down the back straightaway. Here's your race leaders. Shannon Babb and Scott Woodward. Babb will work to the inside of speed here. Bam charging on the outside. They'll race to the left or back. To the stripe on that 31. It's bound by about 3 feet. Again, they're battling in turn 3. Right underneath the car, Randall Chubb, who's fighting to stay on the lead lap. Nose to tail, your front two cars. Now Bloomquist slips to the outside. They're in turn 2. A car length separates your leader man from Bloomquist. All the while, Brian Burkhofer trying to close up on that pair from the 3rd position. Now stretches out to about 3 car lengths now. There is Brian Burkhofer as he goes to the outside of the left car of Brandon Kinser. Burkhofer out of Muscatine, Iowa, running in the 3rd spot. He's followed by Bob Pearson 4th. Dan Sleeper is actually back up to 5th. Greg Johnson in 6th. Back in 7th is Dennis Earl. John Gill runs in 8th. Here's Steve Francis in the 1 car at 9th. And John O'Neill rounds out the top 10. As we continue to pan back and look at these cars out of turn 4. Here are your leaders again as they head to the start-finish line. 2 car lengths in advantage. Now Wood was tight. In turn 1, Wood was goes to the right. Side by side on a turn 2. Scott Luke was putting a lot of pressure on Shannon Babb. Babb up to the challenge. He'll hold him off. Nose to tail. They are working lap 37 as they exit turn 2. And there we go. Now in the 18, Bloomquist in the 0 machine, and Bloomquist steps way to the top. They'll race back to the stripe. Contact. Close corner racing. Again down the back chute they go. Nose to tail as they head into turn 3. Babb ducks beneath the left car, Tim in. And Bloomquist will try to follow him. Scott Bloomquist is able to pull right up underneath Babb, but Babb's strong enough to hold off his challenge. Again, they'll exit turn 4, side by side. The Decatur Raider, Shannon Babb, runs that high groove. Bloomquist looking down low, down the backstretch. They're working lap number 40. Burkhofer clears the lap car, Kim hit, and it could be a 3-car race in a moment. Brian Burkhofer awfully strong. He's had a stellar year across the country, particularly in the Midwest, in his native state of Iowa, and Burkhofer may be marching toward the front here. Having a good run in 3rd, we'll see if we can tighten it up on Babb and Bloomquist. Bob Pierce continues to run back in 4th. Dan Sleeper 5th. Greg Johnson 6th. Dennis Earl 7th. John Gill 8th. Francis in 9th. And now O'Neill is running 10th. Gets a challenge from Darrell Lanigan. Looking at some of those cars running in the top 10, John Gill, Steve Francis, Darrell Lanigan, and Don O'Neill, as they work this big half mile down the back straightaway. Race leader Shannon Babb has now opened up about a 4-car length advantage over Scott Bloomquist right now. As we watch those cars racing from 8th, 9th, and 10th, Steve Francis closes in on John Gill down the back chute. As Darrell Lanigan just shot past Don O'Neill. The battle for the lead is shaping up again. The leaders are in turn 1. There we see Steve Francis awfully loose down the back straightaway. Everything that Kentucky Colonel could muster to pull the reins back on that Dodge Intrepid as Lanigan got by. getting over in turn 2. He has the car righted and back in the right direction now, but it was Chicago's Joey Izzo looping his machine over in turn 2 to bring out the yellow flag with 46 laps complete. Just short of the halfway mark. Decatur, Illinois driver Shannon Babb, your leader. Scott Bloomquist running in second. Brian Burkhofer in third. Bob Pearson fourth. And Dan Sleeper rounds out the top 5. Ready to return to green flag action after the 4th caution period of this 32nd annual World 100. Shannon Babb took the lead on lap number 10. And we're just short of halfway. Bloomquist will give him a run for the money in turn 1. They're side by side at 2, and here comes Berkey. Brian Burkhofer in third. Bob Pearson fourth, and Dan Sleeper in fifth. They're trying to get around the lap car. Brian Roman now to 3 wide for the lead. 3 Bs. Babb, Bloomquist, and Burkhofer hauling the rail in turn 2. Meanwhile, Pierce has fourth, and Sleeper's on the way for fifth. Bloomquist noses in front of Babb in turn 4. On lap 47, Scott Bloomquist is your leader. Babb tries to charge back. Bloomquist slams it over. Babb will ride in his tracks in turn 3. Here comes Burkhofer down low. Dandy battle for the lead. Stretches to about 4 car lengths over Babb. Burkhofer is giving Babb fits for that second spot. Burkhofer side by side. They're racing for second at the stripe. Burkhofer will try to pitch him off. He'll do it. Babb will give him a shot and dart back to the inside. Dynamic racing talents these 2 young guns are. Shannon Babb and Brian Burkhofer. But while they're racing like this at the cross flags, Scott Bloomquist is pulling away. So we are just past the halfway point. As Scott Bloomquist is galloping. Looking at the battle for 6, Darrell Lanigan is having a strong run. Up to the 6th spot as he got by Greg Johnson. Steve Francis directly in front of those guys. We're watching John Hill, Francis, as they battle. There's Greg Johnson. Check that. That was Dennis Erb that had pulled up alongside of Don O'Neill. O'Neill holds him off. Sixth place car of Darrell Lanigan. Trying to get around the left car, Brian Roman. There's a battle for 8. Steve Francis closes up on John Gill in turn 2. During that last caution period, attrition took its toll on a couple of other drivers. Dale McDowell and Skip Hart and Joey Izzo done for the night. We are racing under green flag conditions on a lightning fast racetrack here at Eldora Speedway. As we watch Don O'Neill and Dennis Erb work down the back chute. Scott Bloomquist took the lead on lap 47. He's got about an 8-10 car length advantage over Brian Burkhofer. It's another 10 car lengths back to the 3rd place car, Shannon Babb. Another dozen car lengths back to the 4th place machine of Bob Pierce. And Dan Sleeper running in 5th. Here comes O'Neill in 6th. Greg Johnson in 7th. As we watch those black cars, O'Neill and, Lanigan in the 29. Now we watch John Gill in the 75 and Steve Francis in that Dodge. They are racing in the top 10. put another lap on Shane Yoder. Yoder was pit side for a lengthy period of the race. He came back out after that last caution, and Lundqvist slips by him in turn 2. Don't count Brian Burkhofer out of this race. Lundqvist has a lap for Yoder between he and Burkhofer, but Burkhofer has steadily chopped that advantage down. There's Babb at third. Burkhofer now will try to work underneath Yoder in turn 2. And now nothing but racetrack between he and race leader Scott Lundqvist. Muscatine, Iowa's Brian Burkhofer trying to mount a challenge here. As he works into turn 2. Working lap 64. Burkhofer with a good run this time for 3 and 4. And we'll continue to watch and see if he can close up on Lundqvist. They're back down to turn 1. And Burkhofer is gaining ground. Complete. 35 circuits away from the conclusion. Scott Lundqvist trying to become only the second four-time winner, actually third four-time winner of this World 100. There's Daryl Lanigan at 6, trying to close up on the fifth place car of Dan Sleeper. They carry that battle into turn 3. And Lanigan definitely gaining ground on Sleeper in that little war. Will pinch it down to the bottom and try to close right up on Sleeper out of turn 4. Again, this is the battle for 5th. Sleeper has run right up against that wall the entire race. And done a decent job of running in the 5th position, but that is in jeopardy right now. Lanigan looks slow, Sleeper up high. They race for 5th at the stripe. And Sleeper decides to take the low line in 1 and 2. Shoots up in front of Shane Yoder, the lap car. And here comes Lanigan. We continue to focus on this battle for 5th. On half a track ahead of these guys, race leader Scott Lundqvist is closing up on traffic. He has Dennis Erb and Don O'Neill directly in front of him, and there's the 15 of Brian Burkhofer, who's running in second and gaining ground with each lap. We'll watch this pair negotiate traffic. Short was down 4. It's a 2-car length advantage beneath the flag stand. Lap traffic directly in front of the leader. Working lap 72, Burkhofer makes the move. Turn 3, Berkey digs to the bottom. And the stripe. Dead heat. Oh, big crash at turn 2. Steve Francis wadded up with the lap car of Brian Ruhlman. Now Dennis Erb would know where to go, and he crashes into him as well. I mean, a tremendously hard lick for the Kentucky Colonel as that Dodge Intrepid collided with the wall, and Brian Ruhlman. Yellow waves with 72 laps complete. Reverting back to the last officially completed green flag lap, 71 of the 100 laps completed in this 32nd annual World 100. Following the 5th caution of the evening, 9 cars on the lead lap. Scott Lundqvist will lead Brian Burkhofer back to the green. Shannon Babbs in third. Bob Pierce will challenge for that spot. And immediately Burkhofer goes back to work on Lundqvist. Daryl Lanigan and Dan Sleeper go to war for the 5th spot. John Gill darts to the inside of Greg Johnson. Here's the battle for the lead out of 4. Side by side for third, and Pierce is back in the hunt. everybody's race. Burkhofer closes on Bloomquist out of turn 4. 2-car lengths the advantage for Bloomquist. Bob Pierce back up to third as he nipped Shannon Babb at the stripe. Sleeper running in 5th, Lanigan in 6th. We'll watch the battle for 3rd. Down low, the tall coon with Pierce. Underneath Shannon Babb. Babb rallies back on the outside. Shannon Babb right up against the concrete. Slips back around Bob Pierce. Pierce back in 4th. Sleeper in 5th. Lanigan in 6th. Back up front, nothing's changing. Actually, 4-car length advantage for Bloomquist. Here's the battle between John Gill and Don O'Neill. That's the battle for 8. Give the spot to Gill down the backstretch. Darrell Lanigan right on the rear deck, let it in. Sleeper for 5th. Greg Johnson continues to run in 7th. O'Neill and Gill continue to battle for 8. Lanigan takes a peek on the inside of Sleeper in turn 3. That is for the 5th spot. Sleeper to get back to the top part of the racetrack, and that's where he's had an advantage over Lanigan. Again, 9 cars still on the lead lap, as we are now working lap number 79. A pair of Indiana's finest right there as Don O'Neill closes up on John Gill down the back chute. Again, that's for 8. Gill holds that spot this time through 4. O'Neill will wheel and deal and close back up on Gill out of turn 2. Still nothing changing up front. Bloomquist still has a 4-car length advantage over Burkhofer. They have pulled away from the 3rd place car, Shannon Babb. Bob Pierce running in 4th. And then you've got Sleeper, Lanigan, Greg Johnson, and then back to that battle for 8. Taking a look at our leader, Scott Bloomquist. He took the lead on lap 47. He has conquered this event 3 times. Pretty elite company with Larry Moore and Jeff Purvis, a couple of other 3-time champions of the World 100. Scott Bloomquist is trying tonight to join Donnie Moran as a 4-time champion of the World 100. Only Billy Moyer has won this event 5 times. Bloomquist, then Burkhofer. 83 laps complete. Bob Pierce right up against the wall that time. Here's your 3rd place car, Shannon Babb. Running all in his own little world now. Pierce in 4th. There's that battle for 5th again. The pair of black machines. Sleeper in the 9 car. Lanigan in the 29. Leaders down the back chute. Scott Bloomquist closes up on Shane Yoder, who is many laps down after a lengthy state of wind. Bloomquist bobbled a little there. He tried to pitch it down to the inside. We'll see if Burkhofer can capitalize. And he does somewhat, but he's got to clear Yoder yet before he can gain any more ground. Burkhofer gets under Yoder. And if he's going to make something happen, he's got to do it now. As the leaders work out of turn 2, working lap number 88. They'll walk through 3 and 4, and Burkhofer starting to show some strength on the bottom side of the racetrack. And Bloomquist with a couple of other cars directly in front of him. He's going to have to negotiate his way around. Down the backstretch, 4-car length advantage for Bloomquist. close up on R.J. Conley in turn 3. Burkhofer is there. So we saw Burkhofer do this earlier. Apparently those tires really coming in for Burkhofer after a long run. He's got it down to 2 car lengths in turn 2. Bloomquist races beneath Conley. Bloomquist goes high, Burkhofer digs low. This time 10 laps to go. They're back in turn 2. The advantage is down to 2 car lengths. And the man from Muscatine, Iowa is on the move. Here comes Brian Burkhofer. A car length advantage underneath the flag stand. Burkhofer beginning to put pressure on Bloomquist now, down the back chute. What a way to cap a season that's already been wonderful for Burkhofer. He's right there on Bloomquist's heels. Burkhofer dives to the bottom. They've got the lap car, Brandon Kinzer, lying directly in front of them. Bloomquist stretched it way out against the wall that time. Again through 3 and 4. Bloomquist and Burkhofer. Bloomquist sneaks to the outside of Brandon Kinzer. Putting another lap down and putting a car between he and the challenge of Brian Burkhofer. Little contact with Dan Sleeper and Shane Yoder as Sleeper raced to stay in front of Darrell Lanigan in 5th. Laps winding down. 6 to go now as the leaders are back in 1 and 2. There's that battle between Sleeper and Lanigan. Burkhofer has got it back down to 3 car lengths. He closes at 4. This is the battle for the win of the World 100. 2 car length advantage as they cross the stripe and Berkey closes in turn 2. It's come down to this in the 32nd annual World 100. Brian Burkhofer driving his heart out. He is underneath Scott Bloomquist in turn 4. Slams it over the stripe. Brian Burkhofer pouring the coals on, trying to get a run on Bloomquist down the backstretch. They're nose to tail. Berkey goes to the bottom. He'll slide underneath Bloomquist. 2 laps to go. Check that there, 3 remaining. What a great race for the win here. Bloomquist uses an outside groove. Burkhofer now back to a 2-car disadvantage. He really hammers down the throttle this time with 3 and 4. So Dale working lap number 98 out of turn 2. Here we come through 3 and 4. Burkhofer giving it everything he's got. The white silk flames, final time in the 32nd annual World 100. Burkhofer has got to do it now if he's going to do it at all. He closes up Bloomquist in 2. Tries to dig to the bottom. Half a car length advantage for Bloomquist. Burkhofer's going to try to make it happen here. He'll slide beneath Bloomquist at 4. He passes him. Bloomquist charges back at the spike. I think it was Burkhofer. I can't swear to it, but I think Burkhofer poured off the upset. We'll have to wait and see. No more than a foot if he did it, but what a fabulous run for Brian Burkhofer. A tremendous charge from the young gun out of Muscatine, Iowa. He may have just pulled off one of the biggest wins in the last couple of decades of dirt late model racing. Brian Burkhofer, unofficially as your winner, will await the official word. Burkhofer, the crowd is standing on its ear. One of the most phenomenal finishes to the World 100 that we've ever seen. Burkhofer with a slide job out of turn 4 to work underneath Bloomquist. Bloomquist challenged and charged back, but I believe it was Berkey at the stripe. Shannon Babb did finish 3rd. Bob Pierce in 4th. Dan Sleeper in 5th. And your winner of the 32nd annual World 100, Muscatine, Iowa's Brian Burkhofer. We'll join him in victory lane in a moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, it only took 1 lap, and he did it. Right now, tears of joy coming out of this young man's eyes. We'll let him sit here and soak this in. You would not believe the emotion going on down here in Victory Circle right now. He has torn the Midwest up this year in Iowa, his home state. Kept at it, kept at it, kept at it. And then the final corner coming off beats the man that won it 3 times for his first World 100 victory. Getting all kinds of congratulations. He's ready to come out of the car now. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2002 World 100 winner, Brian Burkhofer. Well, let him get everything together here, and then we'll get a couple of words to tell you. Right now, tears of emotion coming out of this young man's eyes. I know he's a one happy camper. Gets the earplugs out. Brian Burkhofer, congratulations. I know right now emotions like crazy running through you. Your thoughts? You are the World 100 champion.
Man, I don't know what to say right now. They called Jeff Gordon a crybaby when he cried on the post one time. But you don't know how hard we work. I mean, I'm just jittery right now. I tried to, that last yellow, I pressured Scott there a little bit, and I was like, man, he was a mentor of mine, and I looked up to that guy, and I just had to take my opportunity, and I thought he was fooling with me there, and he pulled away a pretty good amount there, about 5 to go, and I just kept telling myself, Brian, you got to hit your lines here in 3 and 4, because I kept messing around, I missed my lines, and I said, you just got to keep chucking, keep trucking here, and I said, you know, top 5 would be pretty awesome, because we never run top 5, you know, in any race here, besides a couple smaller ones, and you know, I don't know. I gotta thank so many people. I gotta thank all the great fans out here. There ain't no place in America that is more awesome to come to here, is to sit in here and look out and see all these wonderful people to come here and watch us do what we work so hard to do. I gotta thank Mike Soybert for giving me an opportunity a couple years ago, Jeff Dahlfeld, all my product people. I'd love to sit here. I'm just so emotional. I gotta thank Troy, T-Ray. I gotta thank my dad for buying me my first race car when I was 16 years old. I gotta thank Captain Kirk. This guy's got more talent than everybody gives him credit for. And look what he did here for me. He helped me get into Winner's Circle here. Thank Earl Ballas for putting on the best. I mean, I can't believe I just won the World 100 yet.
Well, I know that there's another guy that I know right now you're trying to remember everybody to thank. Dahlfeld Transport has helped you out throughout the years, and the big guy that just bring you up out of the race car and got you skyward, Bill Sleeper with those Pro Power engines.
I can't say enough for that guy. He's like a brother. He's like a brother to me. He's like my dad at times. He's like my brother. He's always trying to get the best out of you, and you gotta love him for that. And I gotta thank Keith and Tater Masters. Them guys gave me an opportunity last year, and what a career change it's been for me when I got in these race cars. There's been ups and downs, but I'm standing here in the Winner's Circle at the World 100. I can't thank my wife enough for. My wife has done so much for me. She keeps me tame. I'm glad I met her when I did, because I might have been a different person. And man, what about my good luck charm, my little boy Cruz? I love him to death, and I told him this morning, but Cruz, maybe Dad will bring your first Globe home you can play with, and by golly, we got her done.
Well, when that caution come out, and then we had the red flag on lap 29, you had got beside Scott at that point. Did you think when that red flag came out, oh no, this is not what we needed?
Actually, I had a rhythm, and I hate it when you have a caution when you have a rhythm. And on the restart, he pulled out there, and I figured he would. I just had to get my mindset back, get my car. It was a little tight on the restarts. I think I had to get some heat in my right front, and man, I just kind of drive the wheels off at times. I went into 3 a few times. I wasn't lifting. I was like, that ain't Brian Burkhofer style. He ain't got the guts to do that. So I had to dig down a couple times and give myself the opportunity. Down here in the last lap, I seen Scott. I run in there as hard as I could, and I tried to leave a car length, and I didn't see his nose. I didn't hear him, so I went ahead and let it slow. And if I slid him, man, I don't know what to say. He'll get me back or whatever. I just when you're this hungry, maybe I made a mistake, maybe I didn't. I'll pay for it someday, or else we'll get even one way or the other.
Alrighty, well, Brian, you just stay right here. Everybody stay back there. We got a couple of things we need to get to you right now.